Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. This is the Rangers Review morning briefing. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined by Joshua Barry. How are we doing, Joshua?
Good, Derek. Yeah, all well. Nice to be here as ever. Lots to talk about this morning, isn't there, with the fixtures announced? And as we keep saying, football's back about 20 minutes after it left.
Yeah, we'll talk about that very shortly indeed, folks. Just a bit of housekeeping beforehand. You know the drill, just at the ticker below. We've got a great offer on the site just now. If you sign up now, you get a 30-day trial absolutely free. It's just £2.99 per month thereafter, so it's a bargain. Just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. And as you can see as well, they download the One Football app. It's a sponsor of the Rangers Review. It's your one-stop shop for all your footballing needs. The good news about it is it won't cost you a penny. It's free for Android and iPhone users. You can keep up to date with all the latest goings on from Ibrox. There's plenty of Rangers Review content on there as well. You can get notifications to your phone when news breaks, such as today when the fixtures list was announced. You can also keep up to date with other events taking place, not only in Scottish football, but across the border in the Premier League, the Championship, and what have you, and also further afield across the pond in the continent, in the European, the Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League. As well, so it's a One Football app. Do go check it out. We're hearing great stuff from people that are downloading it. Right, Joshua, let's batter right in. The fixtures were announced at 9 a.m. this morning. The big news is Rangers will start their season away to Livingston on the 30th of July. They would follow that up, the fixtures in August. 2 home matches. Next week is Kilmarnock at home and St Johnstone at home, followed by a trip to Easter Road to take on Hibs, and finishing the month at home to Ross County. The match after that is the first Old Firm game of the season. It's the 3rd of September. Of course, Rangers travel to Parkhead. The New Year Old Firm fixture is penciled in for the 2nd of January, which will take place at Ibrox. And then the following Parkhead game on the 8th of April, before, of course, the clubs split. The other notable fixture that's sort of sticking out, Joshua, is a trip to Dingwall on Christmas Eve. So I don't think that will go down too well with a number of supporters.
My in-laws stay up there, so actually that is okay.
Yeah, spot on, ideal for you then.
You don't have to do it from Middle England. That's fine.
What's your reaction to the fixtures?
Well, I was just going to say as well, Derek, while we're talking about subscriptions, because I was catching my eye as I was on the website today. If people are thinking about why they should subscribe, this is just from yesterday. This is all the type of content you can get for free. Got an analysis of Glenn Kamara, which we spoke about yesterday. Where's his best position? An update on Borna Barisic and the transfer interested him. A scout report on a potential striker Rangers could sign. An update on Nikola Katic. A full excellent explainer from Johnny about what happened with Rangers since in the SPFL. The response to that, the fixtures, a 4 Lads Had a Dream column, some Craig Mulholland quotes on the youth team structure, basically loads of stuff. So just to encourage people, go over and subscribe for free. You won't get that level of content, that consistency of content anywhere else. That's just since yesterday morning. Plenty more coming over the weekend. On the fixtures, I mean, Livingston away is a tough place to start. I know that's where Van Bronckhorst actually won his first. It was his first Premiership game, wasn't it? 3-1. Feels an absolute lifetime ago now. Fixtures for me, because you're only really looking for a few games. When's Livingston away? When's the first Old Firm? When's Aberdeen away? When's Hearts away? You have to play these games at some point. Rangers had a really difficult December last season and did brilliant. And then come January and February, it was the home draws with Motherwell and home draw with Hearts in October that actually undid them. So all to say that it doesn't necessarily translate. A difficult period obviously doesn't necessarily translate to drop points, but I think the noticeable takeaway from it is Livingston away in the first day of the season is difficult because Livingston will have had a long time to prepare for that. I think it's a 12 o'clock kickoff as well. So we'll see how that one goes. But it wouldn't have been my choice of where to start the season, put it that way.
Yeah, Graham Morrison gets in touch in the name of the wee donkey. Yeah, I think he's talking about that trip to Dingwall on Christmas Eve. But yeah, there was a comment coming in. For me, I know there is a lot of excitement when the fixtures announced because the build-up now begins to the next season, Joshua. But a lot of these games are going to be rescheduled. Of course, Rangers have got European qualifiers and what have you. And the TV scheduling is still to be confirmed for a lot of the games. So they will play each team at one point in the season. That's just a way of it, of course. A lot of comments coming in as well with regards to Eric Botheim. We'll touch on that shortly. I wanted to touch on Allan McGregor, though, first of all, Joshua, because you can update us as to the situation with regards to him, of course, out of contract now at Rangers. What is the latest?
Yeah, so I've been told that he's not considering a move to the Middle East in terms of if he was to sign a contract elsewhere, and suggestions that he has actually held talks with Rangers. Obviously, you reported, I think now about a week and a half ago, Derek, maybe just shy of that, that McGregor hadn't commenced talks with Rangers and that he was on holiday. And at that point in time, that was the case. He hadn't held any discussions about his future. You'll remember back in the Scottish Cup final, the interview that he did with Rangers TV after that, he said, look, I can understand, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, I can understand that people will look at that game today when I came on for the final 2 minutes and see that's the end. But he said, I've honestly not thought about it. It's been game recovery. And obviously with the significance of the Europa League final and the games that Rangers were playing at that point in time, you can understand that. There wasn't a lot of time for someone to kind of consider their future. But since that he has returned from holiday, and I'm led to believe that he has held talks with the club about what's going to happen. No insight as to what that involves and what will be the outcome. So I think that's just one we'll have to keep an eye on over the next maybe week or so, and maybe some movement next week in regard to that. But I'm told that he's not considering a move to the Middle East for his next club. But as we say, we'll just have to wait and see what happens in terms of his Rangers future, if he has one.
Yeah, this was it. The Scottish Sun folks exclaimed that an unnamed club tabled an offer to land McGregor, apparently from the Middle East, but that appears to not be his likely destination, shall we say. Let's move on then to this Eric Botheim. Lots of comments coming. This was news that broke yesterday. Rangers are one of a number of clubs sniffing about this boy, Norwegian striker. Formerly on the books of Bodo Glimt, and then he went to Krasnodar in Russia. His contract's been terminated, of course, with all that's going on over there at the moment. What's your feelings on this boy, Joshua? Are you aware of him, and would you like to see him coming in?
Yeah, well, I wasn't that aware. I'd watched him once for Bodo Glimt before, but he left Bodo Glimt in last January to Russia and moved to a team in Russia whose name escapes me. And
Krasnodar.
Yeah, there you go. And some FIFA ruling allowed him to effectively rip up his contract after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and he's been a free agent since. Bodo Glimt, anyone that watched a little bit of Bodo Glimt, and I know people have maybe watched them against Roma or Celtic, their front three's very fun, shall we say, and Solback and kind of took a lot of the credit for that. But I think it's Botheim, however you pronounce it. Watched him a fair bit of him yesterday. We'll have a scout report over the weekend. No idea if there is any interest in the club. This is just us looking at a player that's linked, because that's what we like to do over on the website, give you an idea about the type of player that there's rumours linking Rangers to. And fun, Derek. When we looked at who was the striker we looked at last week, the other Russian striker, if anyone can remember his name, put it in the comments below. Casiero. And we looked at him.
Colombian
boy. Yeah, maybe he could score a lot of goals in the Scottish Premiership. And for me, Botheim, and as I say, we'll have a scout report on him and what he does well. 5'11", scores a lot of headers, just really good penalty box movement. Links play quite well, not in the same way as Morelos does in terms of the way he can maybe switch play. But obviously that's kind of decreased Morelos as range of passing is maybe simplified a little bit, although the numbers of passes he's received has remained somewhat the same since Van Bronckhorst arrived at the club. What I would say on it, Derek, is it's hard. I don't see him really playing off either side. You could see domestically Rangers fielding 2 forwards, absolutely, in some situations. But I wonder if this is, can you keep him, Roofe and Morelos at the club? Hypothetically, if there was to ever be an approach, I don't know about that. But yeah, looks an exciting player, 22 years old. I think he captains the under-21 Norwegian side because obviously he can field 2 or 3 overage players, and went for 7 million just, what was that, 6 months ago, under 6 months ago. So, definitely value in that. And yeah, as I say, we'll have a scout report on it over the weekend to see, understand a little bit more about what type of player he is.
Yeah, and not only that, I've heard he's a rap star as well. He and Erling Haaland have recorded a video. I've not seen it myself. If you let us know if anyone's seen it in the comments, what it's like. But apparently, he can rap a good old tune. Eric Botheim. Let's talk about another player. Comments coming in here from Alan Taylor. I wanted to get your views on this, Joshua. Javi is a free agent now, cracking player, still only 34. What's your feeling on this?
I didn't know he was a free agent, but this is Javi who scored about 15 times against Scotland in 4 games, is it, for Israel? I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, Alan, but I think that's who you're referencing. And he was playing at, was he playing in Holland?
He was at PSV.
Yeah. I mean, we've had, you had a look at some out of contract strikers to maybe fill that Jermaine Defoe void, as you called it, and Craig Vickers looked at Bas Dost earlier in the week as well. And all these, Defoe only came to the club, not only came to the club, but the connection was Gerrard. It wasn't him to get here and get him up in the first place. And obviously, I think he fell in love with the club, and that was pretty evident by the time he left to go back down to Sunderland. I don't see any of these transfers necessarily happening because that one was quite specific to Gerrard, and I think quite specific to Defoe in the minutes he was happy to play. And even at the end of Defoe's Rangers career, you see, I think we played only a handful of minutes last season, and he was quite clearly unhappy about that. He wanted to play more, which is why I went to Sunderland, although it didn't work out. So I don't know if that's is viable, the Rangers go and sign a kind of veteran striker, if you will. I would be more in the Botheim train if it was an option. Yeah,
of course. It's a simple link. He did play for Giovanni Van Bronckhorst at the Chinese club back in 2020. Yeah, so I can see where a possible link may have emerged from. He was at that Chinese club for 4 years, actually, incidentally. So they have worked together. It's an interesting one if he's a free agent, and it might be something that Van Bronckhorst might be keen on. Who knows? This is a player we talked about at length yesterday, Joshua. Peter Buchanan gets in touch. Bas Dost is a Bosman as well, played at Club Brugge. That's one of the pieces we've got on the website, folks, a good old scouting piece on Bas Dost, the Dutch striker. I'm really, after reading that, Joshua, and hearing the comments about this boy, I want him in. I want him parading in front of Ibrox with a scarf over his head. I think he is a real deal.
Yeah, I can see that you'd like him, someone to put the ball in the back of the net, so to speak, which no one will disagree with. We're obviously all still waiting to see as well what happens with Morelos. As we keep saying this week, if Morelos stays at Rangers next season, if he signs a new contract, he'll play 40 of the 60 games or 55 games, whatever, at least. So, and Roofe as well. Roofe, I'll be really interested to see what happens with Roofe this season. I think he's still got 2 years left on his contract, and with a full pre-season behind him, when there's not that injury disruption, as we've discussed before. Obviously, Rangers have used in the past, I don't know if they still are, the kind of artificial intelligence injury tracking that I think it halved injuries in 2020-21 season. I don't know if that was disrupted with a change of management and whatnot last season, but Roofe in that small spell before he got injured, the St Mirren game, notably that 4-0 game, it was a proper lesson in why you need a penalty box kind of poacher in the Scottish Premiership, because that type of player just finds space that no one else does in that team.
Yeah, I like this comment that's came in, Joshua. from Darren. Diego Costa would be a calmer alternative to Morelos.
Not anymore.
Would you take Diego Costa at Rangers?
No, I didn't even know Diego Costa was still playing, Derek. But
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd be that. An interesting comment that I can't see anymore, but was up the page a little bit. So forgive me for not putting it on the screen. Was about if Rangers retain this squad of players who there was noise about last season about poor tempo in the first half of the season. A lot of us were saying in even March, April, after that Old Firm defeat in the Scottish Premiership, a lot of us were saying, look, this squad needs a significant upheaval. Obviously, that now needs to be contextualised within the fact of the success of the end of the season being getting to the Europa League final, also winning a domestic trophy and showing some more promise in the remaining two or three Old Firm games after that 2-1 defeat. The one area of concern that I have, and it'll be interesting to see what you think about this, we put it on the website last week, was the tempo that Rangers start with, I think, is more of an issue than the tempo they end the games with. And a lot was made last season of Celtic's late goals, and they did score, I think, 4 or 5 late winners. But if you look at the kind of shot timing, the time that Celtic have in their average shots, Rangers are, and again, it's on the website. As I mentioned it yesterday. It's under the article Rangers alarming underperformance, something like that. A lot of it was that the pace and the lack of tempo that Rangers had in that first half. And that's one area that I'd really like to see them in some way improve in the transfer window, whether it be a midfielder that, just boosts the tempo a little bit more, however they may do that. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember the game where Tavernier scored that ridiculous goal against St Johnstone in the 2-1 game?
Yes.
That first half was, and anyone who was there or was watching, which I presume is mostly anyone that remembers that, will remember that type of first half was just what Rangers did quite a lot last season in terms of very stale, very sideways and slow. And for me, that's a kind of intangible. We can't really measure it that much by stats apart from kind of short time, as I've just discussed. But I'd be interested to see what you and other thinks about that. The kind of tempo Rangers must improve so that next season it's not always can they score a late goal, but it's, by the 80th minute, have they worn down the opposition to such an extent that a late goal is inevitable? Do you know what I mean, or am I kind of shouting at the clouds?
No, I know what you mean, Joshua. I think it's a fair point, and it'll be something that will be interesting to see unfold. Not only that, I mean, the dreaded 12 o'clock kickoff, as Juice Master Gaming says. I mean, the start of the season is a 12 o'clock kickoff. Rangers usually take a wee while. Not only Rangers, but a number of teams usually take. What's that?
We got a bit better under Van Bronckhorst, I believe, with that.
Yeah. But in the main, I mean, I remember speaking to Stuart McCall about this when he was Bradford manager, and he says it's so hard to get players up for the game. It's not only the players, the fans usually take a bit of time to get up for it as well because it's just so early. So I'm not a fan of those 12 o'clock kickoffs, and the plastic pitch as well. So look forward to them next season. Of course, Kilmarnock coming back up, so there's another one we can look forward to as well. So is what it is, unfortunately. I wanted to touch on this, Joshua. Bit of news. It's on the website, of course, as well. Nikola Katic is returning to Rangers after Hajduk Split pulled out of a deal to sign the defender. Apparently, they had a sort of first option to make the loan switch permanent this summer, but their sporting director said that he is no longer with us. The compensation clause Rangers insist on is too big for now. It's not realistic to realise so far we cannot enter negotiations. So priced out of a move for Katic. I'm not quite sure what the fee would have been, Joshua, but he's going to be coming back to Rangers. I've not been keeping a close eye on how he's been getting on over there. I think jury's out. I think he's got a big summer ahead. He has to impress Van Bronckhorst and the coaching staff. Can you see him? Does he have an Ibrox future for you?
Well, luckily for you, Derek, and all our readers, we have a scout report coming on him from Craig.
Fantastic.
So you can hear all about how he's been doing. I've had a little bit of a look at it. I don't think that Katic will have a long-term future at Rangers. I don't know if there's much new to add about it. I mean, I don't think he's brilliant on the ball, and increasingly, I think you're seeing how the increasing responsibility that the likes of Goldson have in kind of getting the ball into midfield, getting the ball into attacking areas. Obviously, someone like John Souttar is in the exact same mould, and Calvin Bassey, although his distribution at times is well, I think it's improved. He also can kind of carry the ball forward. So, in Lundstrom, obviously, if he drops back, he's a midfielder who's got great passing range. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'd encourage everyone to have a look at that scout report over the weekend and get a kind of a good idea of how Katic has done. And it's been a long time since everyone's seen him in a range. I think the last competitive game he played must have been, I think it was 2-2 against St Johnstone before COVID. You remember Canberry scored and Aribo scored, I think, unless he played the game after that. But that's kind of the time frame, and that's when he cost Rangers a couple of goals. That's the kind of time frame of when he was last in a Rangers jersey. So maybe see him in pre-season, and he could well be a part of things, but I'd be surprised.
Yeah, Allan makes a decent point. Katic suits Gio due to his physicality, but he isn't good on the ball. Goldson had very high on the ball stats last year. Passing can always improve. Yeah, listen, it's a new manager, of course, in place for Nikola Katic, and it remains to be seen if he does fit Gio's style of play. Rob Call also makes a decent point. Hope Katic gets into the team. He's stronger in the air than Goldson and brings a different option. Could he work in a 3 with Goldson and Souttar? We've discussed a possibility of playing at a 3. I think when we had Adam Thornton on, Joshua, or possibly a back 5, but Katic in a 3, could that work alongside Goldson and Souttar, do you think?
Well, I mean, not really, because again, you look at try and think of a good example. Do you know what example sticks out to me? And I'll be interested to see if anyone else remembers this. Rangers 3, Livingston 1, 2019. Ryan Kent's first game back. You remember when Kent pulled his hamstring the game he came back?
Yes.
You remember that? Yeah. And that game I remember very much, the Livingston sitting off Katic, and opposition teams do that all the time. You know, you see teams do it to Celtic with Starfelt sometimes, try and force him onto his left foot. Or last season, you've seen them do it with kind of mark up higher and allow Stephen Welsh to carry the ball forward. You've seen it happen at points with teams mark up Connor Goldson and allow Calvin Bassey to take the ball forward. And I just think if you've got a player who maybe isn't a brilliant passer in the back line, that will always be targeted by the opposition. And certainly at home in the Premiership, I don't really think you need a Souttar, Goldson and Katic in there. So yeah, if you're maybe trying to fit a player in it to that extent, I think you obviously can't be romantic about it. But Katic could come back, and he obviously did have some brilliant moments in the Rangers jersey as well, especially those kind of first qualifying round where he was immense. He is very good in the air as well, so just have to kind of bide the time and see. Van Bronckhorst hasn't had a look at him yet properly in training, you'd imagine. So we just have to watch this space.
Yeah, and then of course, as Callum says, Hollander's there. Leon King, of course, will be moving up with the departure of Leon Balogun, and with Katic coming back, it's competition for places is fierce in that back line. I'd imagine there may be another departure in defence before the transfer window is up. Alan says, what's your thoughts on Leon King? Listen, I think he and Alex Lowry, for me, Joshua, I can see them playing more of a part in the first team next season. I think they've moved on from the B team personally. Well, they obviously spent time with the squad at the second half of last season, moving on from the B team. And I think we're going to see more of this boy next season. Do you agree?
Yeah, and it's an important point that you have to clear the pathway for someone like Leon King. If Leon Balogun had stayed around for another season, not anything to do with Balogun as a player, but say he's 33, say he plays 10, 15 games, the type of game when King came on against St Mirren in that 4-0 game. If King can, Balogun is coming on there to obviously help Rangers keep a clean sheet. If King can do that, there's so much more value in playing a young player in terms of exposure, future value, all these things. He's got 15 years more of his career ahead of him. And that's how it works. And again, on the website today, we've got some really interesting quotes from Craig Mulholland, and he speaks a lot about that, the strategy that Ross Wilson has put in place in the past. I think you're only now starting to see the kind of fruit of, in terms of the fact that young players must be a part from the academy, must be a part of the first team squad. And Mulholland says Rangers will always recruit. Rangers have to win. They can't be a development club, so to speak. But there has to be a place and a pathway for the likes of King and Lowry to come through. Otherwise, same thing will happen that has happened with the youngster whose name escapes me, who's reported down to Aston Villa. Is it Rory Wilson?
Rory Wilson, yeah.
You know, especially with all the Brexit rules and the changing regulations, the likes of Lowry and the likes of King will have plenty of offers down south. So part of the package that Rangers will need to sell them is a first team pathway, and certainly with Lowry and King, that's been the case in the second half of last season, and it can only increase, in particular because they've both done really, really well. Lowry's goal in the last day of the season against Hearts was absolutely fantastic. I think you'll see a lot more of both of them after the summer.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point from Mark. I'm really excited about seeing more of Alex Lowry. I think everyone is, and I wouldn't put that past him. His goal at Tynecastle was absolutely sublime. It really was, and it takes a player of such high confidence and belief to do that against Scotland's goalkeeper and make it look so easy. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing both Lowry and King next season. Okay, folks, that'll do us there. Thanks to everyone for getting in touch with the programme. Apologies if I never got to your comments, but the interaction is superb. Thank you very much for that. Just a reminder, this little ticker below, if you want to subscribe to the site just now is the time to do so. It's absolutely free for the first month when you sign up, only £2.99 per month. Thereafter, head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. And just a reminder, those fixtures that were announced, first up is Livingston away on the 30th of July. It's a 12 o'clock kickoff, so one for your calendar there. And just keep your eyes on the website for all the fallout from that and all the latest goings on from Ibrox. Okay, we'll be back on Monday, but until then, enjoy your weekend.